Hey, it's John.
Hey guys, it's David.
This is the Week 7 Tequila Mockingbird Fantasy Football League recap for the matchups.
So start off with announcements as always. So this past weekend we didn't have the meetup for the games. A lot of people had to cancel last second. So guys, I switched it to November 15th, not 14th. Thank you, Joe, for pointing that out. It's going to be a good week. Giants are playing the Eagles that week, so we should all really have a lot invested in it. I mean, not Jets fans, but that's okay. But please try to make it out because with coronavirus cases going up, this may be our last one for the season, all right? So let's make this last one count.
So some first a few notes about Week 7. We had 8 players score over 30 points. I think that's maybe the second most so far this year.
It may have been the most, actually.
So we had James Robinson. We had Jeff Wilson Jr., who's a backup running back. That's interesting. And then he got injured, so maybe he couldn't handle scoring 3 touchdowns. Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, that smile though, Justin Herbert, Devontae Adams, and Tyler Lockett scored 53 points. Woo!
I think is that our first 50 point of the season?
Yes, I think so.
Could be.
I think so.
Also, at the top 2 teams.
Yeah, the top 2 teams are Steph and Israel. That's a new name. That's a new name in the top. Usually it's Steph and Alyssa. Now it's Steph and Israel. But listen, the way the league has been, anything could happen if you win, right?
That's very true.
Anything could happen.
Very true.
Things
And
change.
speaking of what happened, we've had some pretty close margins this week, 2.6, and that was with the mentioned Alyssa.
Right.
Losing to James by that margin, and we also
I think that's the closest margin of victory so far.
I think it's tied, yeah. We had another one, and I believe the other one also involved James. So James,
Yes.
you are really flirting with that line there.
Yeah.
And the biggest margin of victory, which I say this with such a smile on my face that you can't see, was my matchup against Caesar, where I scored 81 points more than Caesar. And yes, he did play all starters.
Yes, he had all positions filled. Yes.
The other winners, that congratulations to you guys, James, Steph, Israel, me, and Paris.
AKA, not me. Second week in a row.
Yes. Are we missing someone, actually? I realize that that's only 5 names.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that.
We're missing Joe.
Joe.
Congrats to you, too, as well.
Look at that. He wins, but his opponent had 53-point player. 53 points.
That's impressive from both sides.
Crazy.
Speaking of that matchup, let's move on to a different one, actually. So we got the Paris versus the Paez matchup.
So Paez, Deontay Johnson, scored you 29 points coming back from an injury. But Mike Williams did a crazy magical disappearing act and only scored 1.4 points. Not that great.
No, not.
Leonard Fournette, though, on your bench, scored 15 points. And maybe come back as a good running back option over the next few weeks. It looks like they're going to kind of see who's the hot hand between him and Ronald Jones II. So it'll be an interesting thing to watch.
A little risky, actually.
Yeah,
Don't know who's going to hit.
Bad news, the rest of your roster did just average and below average. So no, crazy things.
You need some star players, Paez. And then for Paris, Buffalo defense finally got you points after getting you negative points for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it was against the Jets, so they really had to get it now or never.
Yeah.
You also, Paris, are known as being the 3-headed tight end monster. You have 3 tight ends still on your team, and yet you're still playing the right ones, getting 15 points with Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
You also... I don't know why. You need to explain this to us. Why do you still have a player that has a season-ending injury on your team for the 3rd week in a row? Why Dak Prescott? You're not even a Cowboys fan.
I don't get it.
Oh my God! It's real. And then of course, to be noted, Darius Slayton got Darius Slade and only scored 4 points. So I hope you like what I did there.
There you go. In the Axel versus Steph matchup. Axel is enjoying that Kyler Murray smile and gave him 24.3 points via D-Hop. That Arizona offense is, just beat down on the Seattle secondary. I mean, it was bad. It was bad.
That it was.
Who the fuck is Anthony Fisker?
2.7 points.
I don't know.
Exactly. Who cares, right? Then that's the appropriate response for a player like that.
I don't know. I don't know who that is.
Oh, sorry. Technical issues.
Technical difficulties. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. You're the wide receiver whisperer. Paris is the tight end whisperer. You're the wide receiver whisperer. I mean, your starting wide receivers got 40-plus points combined, whereas your running backs got a combined of 14 points. So, got to maybe make some trades, get some decent running backs in there. Maybe trade one of those wide receivers for running back to kind of help balance your team out. Your 49ers defense got 16 points and got Cam Newton benched. That's really favor for all of us because his play wasn't that great. It was pretty terrible to watch.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you can just ask Tej. We'll talk
Tej
about that.
Tej is rolling his eyes about now, but yeah. Anyway, Alvin Kamara. Enough said. And he scored his projection exactly. What can't this man do?
It's crazy. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, and Jamal Williams. Enough said. Scored 20-plus points. I can't argue with Steph's logic. It's just she's put somebody in and they just perform.
And they just work.
Except Darren Fells, who fells short of scoring anything. So, I mean, I guess there's a limit to what Steph can do.
Yeah.
And Steph, I mean, you're rocking it with your starters, but you really, honestly, when you're looking at her roster, you don't really have depth. But I can't talk because you're in the lead, so what you're doing clearly is working.
One loss. That's all I can say.
For somebody in their first year, very nice.
So, I mean, in the Joe versus Tej matchup, which is our next matchup, James Robinson and Justin Herbert had 2 30-point players on his team, so that's good for Joe. Julio Jones had a second week back from those tough games. Scored exactly his projections. That's the all-star right there. I mean, it's Julio. It's Julio. And he almost lost to a guy with a wide receiver that scored 53 points. 53 points. I don't know how many times we got to talk about this.
He is almost, though.
Almost lost. You won by 5 points or something like that. That must have been pretty scary. I mean, sometimes it's tough looking at that and just watching those numbers grow, and then you're just right there.
How much did his wide receivers add up to again?
His wide receivers.
His starting two is 50 plus, right?
Who?
Joe.
Probably.
50 plus points. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But the Chark though, right?
Yeah. That Chark in Jacksonville, it just doesn't look like it's a pass offense anymore. It looks like it's a run-only offense. And I guess it helps you if you have James Robinson, but
which you do.
So that works.
And what doesn't work, though, is Cam Newton. Yep, he lost you that game, Tej. I don't have to tell you that one. And you know what? You should just go on Twitter and let him have it and let him know how he disappointed you. And anybody else who was silly enough to start him.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett, though, that was not a silly start. 50-plus points. I don't know. We've said this 3 or 4 times already. That is so impressive. That's so great. Thank God you started him. And you're going to be thankful for that because those points for might matter in the end. Your running back depth, I got to hand it to you, Tej. The strongest in the league.
Drafted well.
Most secure. Yep, exactly. You are the running back whisperer.
Right, yeah.
Right? So maybe you can coordinate with the tight end whisperer and the wide receiver whisperer and help each other out here. Because you all definitely have areas that need improvement. Like Tej, when it comes to running backs, you're like the girl in high school that's super popular and pretty because she got boobs first. Everyone's looking at you like, oh my God, give me your running back. All right, exactly. So, one last thing though is your tight ends suck. So, yeah, maybe talk to the tight end whisperer first.
In the Alyssa versus James matchup, so Alyssa had Kyler Murray, that smile right there, right? Got 37-plus points. Gotta love it. I mean, come on. DJ Lamb or DJ Lame? I mean, your defense with negative points, I mean, kind of pick your poison. I mean, it was a tough matchup for you this week. But your kicker, that was your second best player. I mean, he got you 15 points, I think it was, right? It's a kicker year. Got to lead by example, right? And you got to play the waiver wire because Joe got Gio before you did. I'm sorry, G-O, weird mustache, Bernard, got him 20-plus points.
What's up with the mustache? It seems so out of place.
I don't know. But, I look at him and I think, okay, him and then, think about, the facial hair we have in the league. Him, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Everyone's just trying to be different. Yeah. Everyone, you do you, I guess. But, still, when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Anyway, for James, though, for your matchup. Oh, sorry, James. Our computers both decided to die at the same time.
Same exact time.
So for yours, Chase Claypool finally came back down to earth. It was bound to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, it didn't cost you the game. Your wide receivers are still doing great things. Your running backs are doing shit. I'm not even going to put that lightly. You and Axel should figure something out, maybe with Tej, hopefully. Your defense and your tight ends, they played amazing, getting you 21 points and 17 points, respectively. They were your second and third best players, though. Probably not a winning strategy to rely on defenses and tight ends. But if they're giving you points, I'm not going to complain with that. And also, you could have had more points had you started DJ Moore over Robbie Anderson. But hey, you won, so
right.
I'm sure you're just happy about that.
So the Caesar versus David matchup. Caesar. How the hell do you have almost the whole team score less points than David? I don't get it. And Kerryon Johnson, really? At least pretend to know that you're, trying to play fantasy football. I don't know.
But look at his bench. He literally had no options, right, John?
He had no bench spot. He could have picked somebody up. That way he would have, or made a trade to have someone instead of Kerryon Johnson. I don't know. But listen, Miles Sanders might be coming back this week, so hopefully he won't be thin at running back too long.
Yeah. And the Chicago defense did pretty solid on Monday Night Football. And Caesar, it's not your fault you lost to me. Devontae Adams plus A.J. Brown plus Terry McLaurin, those three people combined alone got more points than your team, got more points than Pies' team, got more points than John's team. Can't blame you when three players alone already beat a team. So yeah, and speaking of a team, though, it's a team effort, and Mike Davis didn't really contribute that much for my team, getting me only 8 points. Starting to cool off. CMC's coming back. Probably looking like somebody I might drop eventually.
Yeah.
Hate to say it, but what I do love to say is Carson Wentz, Eagles baby. All right, relevant for a third week in a row.
Dude, that's great. That's doing a great job keeping faith in your team's quarterback, man. I don't think I could do that with Joe Flacco / Sam Darnold.
I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry. But I got to keep faith, right? Fly, Eagles, fly.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, David Gibson, 18 points on my bench. Should have put him in instead of Mike Davis. Yeah. But in retrospect, I wouldn't have done that. That's why I didn't do it. Yeah. But at least it's good to know that I got some running back depth, especially with Mike Davis now being out the door.
Sure. So,
now we got the John versus Israel. So, John, your kicker got you 15 points. That's some good stuff. Yeah. Kickers' points, they definitely add up when it comes to hopefully winning. But unfortunately, though, you lost OBJ this week to that torn ACL.
Yeah.
That one's going to hurt. We all can relate to losing guys through injuries. I haven't personally lost any, which is great. But, there's definitely a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
And Metcalf, you didn't lose him, but he definitely didn't make his presence known, except on a wonderful defensive play where he literally hawked down Beta Booker's ass.
Yes.
And that is his description description of it, Buda Baker. A little sus in how he described it, but that man really made the best defensive play of the game on offense.
I saw it and I my jaw just dropped because of how fast that guy ran. Just after the ball.
Yeah.
The ball hopped it.
And also you got Kenny Golladay and Los Angeles Rams defenses getting you 15-plus points each. That's always solid and serviceable. You're going to need that when you're making a team.
Mm-hmm.
And nice sneaky pickup of Antonio Brown there. Hopefully that helps you win starting from week 9 and on. Because in week 8, it's you and me.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
One player, that's all it takes. One player.
One player.
So for Israel, nice win, by the way. Hunt. Sneaking into that RB5 conversation while Chubb's gone. But even with Chubb gone, when he comes back, Hunt's still going to be a decent flex play, RB2 flex play. He scored over 10 points per game, before and after Chubb, so he's there.
I totally agree. There's nothing to argue there. Even with Chubb back, he has good fantasy relevance.
He has to. Sorry guys, technological problems there. Seems to be an ongoing issue. I don't know. Chase Edmonds also had a backup running back, scoring hardcore, getting some good points, 20 plus. Another Arizona offensive player going up against that Seattle defense. Chris Godwin, finally coming back and getting the points you drafted him for. But he's out again next week with finger surgery. So he'll be out only 1 week probably, is what I'm hearing. Overall, not much else to say. I mean, fingers can be tough, sometimes.
No, there is something to say. Like, WTF, you don't draft a guy like him this high for him to produce you 1 week. He's only played for like 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, 1 or 2 weeks.
And we're at week 8. This is annoying.
Listen.
I mean, I had AJ Brown, so I could kind of relate, but I feel bad.
Michael Thomas hasn't played like all season, so you got to give it up to James. I mean,
all right, okay, that's true.
He's got that.
Sorry, James.
He's got that. I mean, overall, you had a really good game. You had a really good matchup. I didn't get what I needed to get, and there's not much else to say. But good stuff.
All right, guys. So some fantasy updates. One thing, John to say. One thing for me to say, John.
So Antonio Brown, I'm really hoping he comes back and plays well. Right now, he's going to be the third wide receiver on that team, but things change. Maybe Mike Evans gets less production. Maybe Chris Godwin gets less production with an injured finger, and boom, boom, bang, boom, and maybe he's, league winner.
Well, obviously you're hoping for it because you picked it up. I also picked him in one of my other leagues, so I hope you're right, too.
I picked him up in all my leagues, so I got really sneaky and just...
I tried to pick up Antonio Brown before you did, but I just didn't have spot on my roster, and now I'm kind of kicking myself.
That's why you got that IR spot,
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully that came in handy for a lot of you back there at home. So my take that I want to talk about is the fantasy impact of OBJ. A lot of people I've heard have been saying that it's actually going to boost Jarvis Landry's fantasy value. I really don't agree. I really think that losing OBJ is going to hurt that offense. That offense is already not as flashy as we really want or really hoping for it to be. Just double team Jarvis Landry, stuff the box, going between, and I really think that the offense will stall a bit. So even though I feel like Kareem Hunt can be a solid flex play moving on, I really think that he's just going to get a few dump passes that'll keep him fantasy relevant. I really don't think that Jarvis Landry ends up bumping a tier because of this. I just think that it's really the OBJ people that are just going to suffer through this. And
I think even with OBJ out that game, most of that game, he didn't play that well. I mean, they really relied on their tight ends to kind of pass the ball and get those scores. So it's looking more like a Kevin Stefanski offense like it was last year in Minnesota. So
very true. Very true. And also an update, Week 8 teams. Who are the teams on bye, John?
We have the Texans, the Cardinals, the Jaguars, and the football team.
Washington football team. And a few last remarks. Now that we're halfway through this fantasy football season, it's still very close.
Yeah.
We have a 5-way tie for second place in itself. Mm-hmm. Steph, you're starting to make a lead. Even though it's just 2 games, those 2 games really matter when you only have half a season left. So keep it up. But really, it's still anyone's game. All right, guys, that's enough for our segment. I'm David, you're co-commish.
I'm John, co-commissioner.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.